Hello again. Welcome to another edition of Media Watch. I'm your co-host, Eric Tait.
I'm Bob Anthony.
And I'm Raymond Peterson.
And once more into the breach, guys. We're pre-taping, and I guess when this airs next Monday, a number of things will still be on the top burner. I'm sure the political campaign will still be doing what it's doing. There will still be craziness going on in the Mideast. And there will still be things about corruption in New York City and corruption across the country. So before we get into all of that, what I'd like to do is pay tribute to one of my longtime colleagues and mentors, Dr. Roscoe C. Brown. Dr. Roscoe C. Brown passed over the past weekend. When this airs, it'll be a week from then. I think he passed on Saturday, July 2nd. Bob, you said there was something on the Daily News and
Yes.
elsewhere?
Yes, I saw some pretty good obits in the Times on NPR. Of course, all of the local stations carried it, and as you know, now flags, at least at the moment while we're taping, the flags in New York City are at half staff.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Ray, I know you probably know of him.
Mhm.
You probably crossed paths media-wise with him and probably saw some of the stuff that he did. I know the first thing that pops up, most people will say, well, he was a Tuskegee Airman.
And that was the one fact that escaped me. I didn't know that. I just found that out today, actually. Yeah, captain at that.
Yeah, he was one of those Tuskegee Airmen combat pilots who flew in World War II. And the thing that struck me about Dr. Brown, I'm almost tempted to call him Roscoe because every time he and I met, we get to talking. and because he was such a humble, unassuming individual with great sense of humor, he would always put you at ease. And so every time I'd say Dr. Brown, he said, "Oh, come on, Eric." And so I'd end up calling him Roscoe. He flew, I think, at least 68 combat missions. He was part of those groups that escorted those bombers during World War II.
And very successfully so.
Yes, as the not well-written red tails tried to bring across.
Okay.
I can't help it, but it wasn't well-written, even though the intentions were great.
Okay.
It was well shot, but wasn't well-written.
Okay.
There were some nice performances in there, but let me not digress. But what I was really struck by Dr. Brown, not just the fact that if you didn't dig into his history, you wouldn't know he was one of those highly decorated Tuskegee Airmen who flew those combat missions in World War II, was the fact that he became an educator. I believe he's president of one of the local New York community colleges, probably Bronx Community College.
Yes, that you're correct.
I know he was big civil rights activist. There was no two ways about the fact that he was in the forefront of that struggle. And as an educator, he reminded me of another unassuming, really, really phenomenal individual by the name of James P. Comer. And Comer is the guy who did all this educational reform stuff. And the thing that always make me pair those two individuals is because, one, they're very unassuming, very humble, and it seems as if they led their lives with the sole purpose of being of service to other people.
That seems to be what I get from the few videos I've seen. It's like the point is you, not me, when he's speaking to you. I mean, he seemed to get across the point that he wanted to hear what you had to say. Of course, he wanted to help, and he had an opinion, but he wanted you in the conversation.
Yeah, that was Dr. Roscoe C. Brown. And I can't tell you how really greatly thrilled and honored I was, because when we first came out with Then I'll Be Free to Travel Home, our documentary on our history and legacy blacks in North America struggling for freedom and first-class citizenship in this country. We were struggling to get the word out, and Roscoe called me up and said, "Hey, Eric, I want you to come on American Legends." That's the show that he was doing for CUNY. And the film was out, the documentary was out there. It was being, trying to be marketed here, there, and everywhere. It finally got on Stars Encore thanks to the Cinema Guild, but those early days, it wasn't getting that much play. And so I knew exactly why Roscoe would call me, because he knew the subject was valuable to the history of blacks in America. He knew the subject was integral to what the history of America was all about. And because he had a platform, he invited me onto that platform. We screened, I think, the promo reel, because Ray, we worked on that video documentary
for a long time.
for some time, and we had a very, very great exchange about the importance of trying to get American history told properly, and so I know that was the educator and civil rights activist in Dr. Roscoe Brown when he said, "Eric, you got to come on American Legends." And so I'll always be grateful to him for that, and there were a number of tributes. David Ushery did on his broadcast on one of the local TV stations. Correct me if I'm wrong. David is now with Channel 4? NBC?
I think he's on 2, Dubois on 4.
No, Dubois on 2.
Dubois on 2?
Yes.
Okay, so I do have it reversed. Okay.
And I don't know
Maurice is on 2, and
Okay.
David's on 4.
Okay.
But we lose track as we age, because David used to be on 7.
Right.
But in any event, he did a fine tribute. I know Carol Jenkins, who's now hosting the successor show, Black America, on CUNY TV, which is the current iteration of American Legends. She had a fine tribute to Dr. Brown on her show. I know Cheryl Wills posted some stuff on Facebook. I'm not sure what Cheryl did on air, but media folk understood the significance and importance of Dr. Roscoe C. Brown. And for me, he was one of the giants that I could look up to, that I could say, yeah, you can go out in the trenches and you can come back and they can call you a hero, they can do whatever you want, but as we all know, this is a never-ending struggle. And so folks, Dr. Brown understood that, so he stayed in the trenches. He came out of that airplane, got into the educational trenches, got into the civil rights trenches. And so what I can say is thank you, Dr. Roscoe C. Brown, for all you've done. May you rest in peace, and may someone else pick up the mantle, maybe the three of us.
You never know. I know that Dr. Brown was a past president of 100 Black Men. Was he also one of the founders?
I don't know if he was or not, but he definitely was active in that organization as well, because as you know, he would pick platforms, organizations, and people that he felt could be effective to align himself with and to help with their mission. And their mission was always about making things better for other individuals. And in this instance, 100 Black Men, the African American community.
And he is a founder.
Oh, he is a founder.
Yes.
Okay.
Hey, power of modern technology. You can
Yes.
call it up in an instant.
Yes.
So, I'm happy to spend the time paying tribute to him, and so I'm sure he probably would be definitely in the forefront of trying to figure out what the heck is going on with the current political state of this country as we speak.
He's not alone.
So
he would not be alone.
that's our segue to talk about what I guess is still going to be bumbling around in the news. What's the latest on
Hillary?
the yesterday, last week when this airs, the FBI Director Comey came out with what?
Well, he basically said that yes, Hillary. I mean, we all heard the news at the same time. Hillary was
slept.
Right. Hillary was definitely ineffective in the way she handled her home email server. She was definitely, her and her staff were ineffective. They did not handle the communications the way they should
Don't
have.
be kind. Say
And-
what he said.
What
They
I'm certain
eminently careless,
careless.
horrendously careless.
And
what else did they say?
He left. They left the door open for hackers. They don't have any evidence that hackers got in, but in any case, it was very badly done.
Oh God.
It's like me taking a server from the office, even at a newspaper, and bringing it home and letting those communications go unprotected.
So, is this based on one's personal honesty to not abuse the system, or are there checks and balances?
Technology has a way of outrunning the checks and balances, and I think in this case it did, because she took it home and nobody was checking. She did her duty as Secretary of State, and there were no rules. There were rules, but she flaunted them.
She didn't ask.
Right, and there were no checks to see.
And this is the highest levels of government. I have a friend that works for the Federal Reserve.
Okay.
Now, she tells me when she goes in, they know what she's bringing in. When she comes out, they know what she's bringing out.
And I had a friend who worked at the old American Stock Exchange, and the level of security was at that level. You did not breeze in there with a floppy disk. We're going way back.
Right.
Or you didn't just plug into that network. There was a reason for you to connect something to the network, and a few people had to know what that device was. And so, right.
Right. So why don't they have the same kind of security on a major national level?
It's not so much whether they had security or not security. The whole thing gets to, and Bob can explain it better, the server thing. You see, because if you set up your own personal server, it doesn't matter what the security protocol is in your office. Okay.
But why is someone allowed to do that?
Because they are
There's the
people in the
rub.
government,
Yes.
and the government supposedly has protocols for them to follow. And it turns out that I've heard it said before, I didn't read it, but 69 people said, well, the reason she may have done is because Colin Powell used to have his own server and used to do X, Y, and Z. You've heard that, right?
Yes.
And so the question is, just because he had a server, maybe he had his server more secure. Maybe he followed better protocols. We don't know that. But the point of the matter is, it was a scathing indictment of how cavalierly they
That's a good
handled
word.
that
Yeah.
particular server, email, the whole bit. So in essence, she put the country at risk. Now, they say we have no evidence that they got hacked, but given the level of technology today, the odds are she probably did get hacked.
Probably did. I mean, somebody.
So,
yeah.
because they can't prove it, and the key thing that Comey said is the difference between malicious intent, intent to sabotage the government, and blah, blah, blah. He had the three templates,
Right.
and none of those were present. And because no precedent existed for filing charges, he felt, I'm not going to set a new precedent and file charges, so
Right, right.
there's no grounds for me to do a criminal indictment of this lady. And he started out his press conference, I believe, with, nobody knows what I'm about to say. I don't care what anybody else thought I was going to say. I'm paraphrasing, folks, but you have to understand, the reason this man is standing up at a podium saying, hey, this is me talking, I hadn't talked to anybody, I don't know what they have to say, I don't care what they have to say, is because your buddy Bill Clinton did what a week ago before?
Yes, he had the little visit with the Attorney General in a plane, was it?
On
the
a tarmac?
on the
Yeah,
tarmac.
a casual
They
visit. And that's breathtakingly out of place. I
It
mean,
is.
it's silly and dumb. I mean, Bill's smarter than that. At this
He
Arrogance.
is smarter than that.
Arrogance. That's just pure arrogance. And of course, his typical self-destruct mentality. Because any intern, forget the choice of words, could have said, that's a stupid thing to do. Your wife is about to possibly be indicted by the Justice Department. You talking to the Attorney General a week before this is supposed to come down. Ain't very smart, buddy.
Right.
So,
And it would not have been reported had
Trying to get
someone
his wife
not
a break.
spotted someone.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
hey, Attorney General then had to say, oh yeah, I shouldn't have had that meeting. But guess what? We ain't talking about anything doing with his emails or his wife emails or whatever. She was standing up there denying. And so Comey, in starting his press conference, which is exactly why I believe he spent the first 2/3 of that press conference just scathingly ripping Hillary Clinton up and down for what she and her staff and the State Department had done with those emails in that server, just because he did not want anybody thinking, well, I've been soft soaped and soft pedaled by my boss,
Right.
the Attorney General, and blah, blah, blah. I mean, he just ripped a new hide for this woman. Democrats might want to spin it different way, but he just said this was dumb, this was stupid, this was cavalier, and this endangered the country. Pretty much, that's what he said. And the Republicans will have lots of fodder to run with if they so choose. But guess what? They went the other way. What did Trump just say the other day about, I think she bribed the Attorney General?
What did he say in the beginning, Ray? And he opened by saying that the process was rigged.
Yeah.
Yes, well,
He
that's
said
his
the process
typical
was
line.
rigged.
But he had some other things to say.
He's got a lot to say. I don't hear everything that he says because my ears close when I hear his
Okay.
voice.
All right.
But he went ahead and said that there was a payoff, or he came out and explicitly, because I didn't hear that quote.
There's a headline, we're taping Monday, last Wednesday. Trump accuses Clinton of bribing Attorney General.
Yeah,
That's the headline.
That's
it
yeah.
was on the
I saw
Yahoo
that
news
somewhere.
feed.
No, that's-
and I'm
yeah,
going,
that's
and
what
I'm
it
going,
was.
I don't even want to read the story. I mean, why would he even go there? He has so much other fodder based on Comey's press conference
Right.
to run with, and he goes down that rabbit hole about them bribing the Attorney General. That is
I don't think the man thinks all the time before he speaks. He just blurts out a lot of stuff. You know?
hey, I don't know, but interestingly enough, that announcement came out on the same day that President Barack Obama got on the campaign trail for Hillary Clinton. You guys want to give us a little update on how that out-the-box rally down in North Carolina went?
How did that go?
Well, I just saw the stand-up with Hillary smiling and Barack speaking. I mean, it basically left him unfettered to go ahead with his, out in the open endorsement of this candidate, with that FBI, not dismissal, but non-charge behind him. So all of a sudden, now they're looking ahead. As Bill Belichick would say, we're on to next week. Hate to use a football quote, but it's the process of looking ahead to the convention and to the election, and not, basically trying to say, okay, this is behind us. Whether the public will accept that, that's different. Trump and the Republicans are going to try to keep that in the spotlight from here on out.
Well, interestingly enough, one of our resource persons, Joe Elliott, called me.
Joy, sure.
Yeah, yesterday, and he said, turn on TV, MSNBC or whatever. I think the president's on the campaign trail for Hillary Clinton. I said, oh, okay, let me see that, because I know this was supposed to happen a couple of weeks ago, and then because of the shooting in Orlando, they postponed that. So I said, oh, okay, let me check that out. So I turned on the TV real quick, and Barack Obama was in his fired up campaign mode. I mean, he was just rolling out all those quotes and doing all those analogies and comparisons about, you need somebody who's been in the trenches. I've been in the trenches with her. I've seen her act during the Situation Room and da-da-da-da. And yeah, trust me, it was the old Harry Truman, hell on wheels kind of campaign speech. And later that evening, I'm checking the channels, and the pundits are all talking about, if this guy's on the campaign trail for her for the rest of this thing, I think Trump's going to have a hard way to go trying to beat this duo. So it turns out that, and this for me is the humorous part of this stuff. You guys may not think it's humorous, but in the course of the MSNBC feed, they lost their signal of the actual rally because there was a thunderstorm in the area or whatever. And so Brian Williams had to fill in until they got their picture back. And so part of his ad-lib stuff, this is not a teleprompter, it's ad-libbing off the top of his head. He goes, well, I mean, it was really a barn burner. He was really getting fired. And the people in the audience were definitely calling out, saying, yes, I want you to preach. And this is Brian Williams. And I think he actually was trying to get into that mode, because he went into a Richard Pryor kind of And I'm watching him, and I hear him say that. I went, nah, he didn't say that. He didn't say, he went into a Richard Pryor. I said, he didn't really say that. He couldn't be that stupid. That dumb.
Yeah.
Well, I just shook my head and said to myself, all you had to say was, yeah, he did. He got into his Baptist preacher's mode and really went on into a preaching. He didn't have no smarts to go there. Okay? He went into a Richard Pryor kind. Well, I don't know. Did you guys see the reaction? I later that evening, I heard that the Twitter sphere blew up and Facebook blew up, and the things that were coming out from people. No wonder they fired that dumb.
Now,
that's it.
I've sat next to Brian at a dinner once, and smart guy can be terribly arrogant. Thoroughly arrogant. I mean, even just during the one dinner that I sat with him, I mean, that's the one thing that struck me, because I asked him a question once and he just kind of blew it off. But, you know, here was I, president of the organization which he was attending the dinner for.
Your dinner, right.
I mean, we had...
You're the president.
I'm the president of the group, and he sort of blew me off and chatted with other people. So, you know, I didn't have that high an opinion. But of all the orators he could have picked out to compare Barack to, Richard Pryor. A lot of people he could have pulled out of the air, which would have been just fine.
I just shook my head and said, yeah, well, that's what happens when you're dumb and you're clueless, okay? But I didn't think it was going to cause that much of a firestorm. I mean, I just wrote it off as, yeah, if you don't know anything about black people or black churches or black anything, and they ask you to preach, you don't have an analogy to use that's proper. You go to something that you think.
Right.
Richard Pryor wasn't it.
That was a bad.
It was. And, I mean, I just blinked and went, no, he didn't do that. I said, well, okay. But I didn't expect it to raise a firestorm.
Yeah.
Folks were incensed. They called him racist. They called him all kinds of things.
The problem was people were on Twitter anyway watching the speech and tweeting what they thought about it. So once
he jumped right into that.
So social media was kind of ready.
All right. So you know, Trump had a rally that same night, and that's where he started talking about the rigged system bit. Right. He says, you know, but see, Trump says anything that comes off the top of his head. But what do you guys think of Paul Ryan's reaction to the thing?
As the kid from Wisconsin, I mean, I had a little bit more respect for him earlier on as he took a seat, and when he said that he would back Trump, I was saying to myself, well, good Lord, the kid all of a sudden is just playing the party line, and now he's sort of trying to reverse himself without reversing himself, and so I don't know what to think of this guy at the moment, because I was giving him credit for a while for being at least a young Republican with a future, but it seems to be a young guy who knows what to do, knows enough to do what he's told. Or, Eric, I don't know if that fits with what you're hearing, but he lost a whole bunch of points with me the last couple of weeks.
Well, day before yesterday, what did you see his thing about Comey's lack of charging Hillary Clinton was unexplainable or something to that effect.
I didn't hear him say that, but I'm with you. I've lost some respect for him. I did have a modicum of respect for him when he started.
Yeah.
But this latest comments from him are just...
Because it was thrown at him. Boehner left, and they needed somebody. And
well, he's, I believe, trying to take the GOP mantle on the FBI investigation off the Trump hobby horse by saying what he's saying about it's totally unexplainable, that lack of charge, etc. So despite the fact that Comey went point by point and talked about why legally we're not going to do that, not to say that if there were different circumstances and certain criteria had been met, then we'd feel no hesitation about going that, because A, B, C were missing, we're not going that. So Ryan's thing was, that's unexplainable. Well, that was yesterday, today, Wednesday, July 6th, I saw this other headline. GOP will launch investigation into FBI. Now, are they relying on Paul Ryan's statement of this is totally unexplainable and using that as the fodder for why they're going to launch this investigation into the FBI. This guy Comey, you probably know more about his background than I do, Bob. I know he's not a Democrat person. He's probably one of the most neutral kinds of FBI directors we've had in a long time.
Right, and he got his job under a Republican administration, didn't he?
You're probably right. I'm
And
not
so-
sure which
so-
one. Probably a Bush.
Yeah.
Because Bush had 2 terms.
Yeah. But he's not a friend of the Democrats by any means and any stretch. He's not a friend of Hillary's by any stretch. So, but like you said, he had to tickle up the reasons why he couldn't do it by way of explanation. But an investigation into the FBI by Republicans, I don't see it.
We spent how many millions of dollars investigating Benghazi?
And trying to shut down Obamacare.
Yeah, we spent any millions of dollars despite the fact that there was an IG investigation that said Benghazi was whatever it was.
Right.
And then there was another investigation. And then there was another investigation. So guess what? We can launch an investigation on the FBI. We, being the GOP.
Right. Sure.
Because guess what? They love to launch investigations.
Apparently that's where the money is.
Taxpayers' money doesn't mean anything. So I think we got about a minute and a half. I don't like to end my show on Donald Trump, but tell me a little bit about Donald Trump and the Star of David. Go, Ray.
I was going to say the Star of David thing. Well, come on, this political campaign. Now you could say, well, we just picked a design and put it there. But where's your mind?
We got to tell people what that Star of David story was.
The Star of David. Well, there was a meme with Hillary Clinton, dollars floating all around her.
Most corrupt politician on the planet ever, or something
Right.
to that effect.
In the design
in
of the
the
Star
of David,
which
right.
Someone said, "Oh, well, no, that's a sheriff's badge."
Right.
Well, yeah,
6-pointed sheriff badge,
Yeah,
right,
exactly.
which is usually rounded on the edges.
Where is your brain? Where
Yes.
is your brain?
It's like he could have picked any other thing, but he was trying to send his dog whistle to his far-right
I
supporters,
guess
I
so.
guess.
And he quite succeeded, I am afraid.
But it's like the dog whistle was heard by everyone on the planet.
Yes.
So I don't know. What do we want to do in the last 28 seconds?
I just want to point out that picture. I've been sitting here looking at that picture that you had up here for the past 20
Of Roy
minutes.
Cohn? Yeah,
Roy Cohn and a young Donald Trump.
But we'll be able to get to it at the next one.
Yeah, because we'd have to tell people Roy Cohn used to be Joseph McCarthy's right-hand lawyer. Hey, this has been Media Watch. I'm Eric Tait.
I'm Bob Anthony.
And I'm Raymond Peterson.
And we'll catch you the next time.